Hello everyone, here is Afra Siab. Today we are going to solve Cambridge IGCSE Physics Paper 2 Multiple Choice Extended held on October-November 2019 and paper code is 0625 with variant 23. So let's start from question number 1. Question number 1. Which is the best apparatus to use to measure the thickness of the coin? So here we have to measure the thickness of the coin. Which one of the following is the best apparatus? Option A, balance. B, ruler with a millimeter scale. C, micrometer screw gauge. D, pressure gauge. Pressure gauge is used for the measurement of the pressure, while the ruler is used for the measurement of the length. So the micrometer screw gauge is basically the apparatus that is used for the measurement of the thickness of the coin. So option C is correct. Question number 2. The graph shows how the speed of the object varies with the time at which labeled time is the object decelerating. So there is a speed time graph. We have to show that at which point from A, B, C and D the object is decelerating. It means that the speed of an object is decreasing. The object is slowing down. From A to C, there is a straight line up till this point B. It means that from point A to B, the speed of the object is increasing, while at this instant, the speed is constant. After that, again the speed is decreasing. It means that option D is correct. The D point shows that object is slowing down, so D is correct. Question number 3. A car travels at an average speed of 60 km per hour for 15 minutes. How far does the car travel in 15 minutes? So here time and speed is given and we have to find out distance. How far does the car travel? So I write here speed is equal to distance over time, while the distance is equal to speed multiplied by time. Here average speed is given kilometer per hour and the time is given in minutes. We know that 1 hour is equal to 60 minutes. From here, 1 minute is equal to 1 over 60 hour. And then 15 minutes is equal to 15 over 60 hour. So I put value here. Distance will be equal to 60 kilometer per hour multiplied by time is given 15 over 60 hour. So this hour cancels by this and distance will be equal to 15 kilometer. Now we see the option. Option A 4.0 kilometer, B 15 kilometer. So option B is correct. Question number 4. Which equation shows the relationship between the weight W and the mass of the object? We know that weight is the product of mass and acceleration due to gravity. So weight is equal to m multiplied by g. Option A, here is W is equal to m over g. Here is the division, so this is incorrect. B, W is equal to mg, so option B is correct. Option C is incorrect because here is addition and D is incorrect because here is also the division. So only option B is correct. Question number 5. A box of mass 2.0 kg is pulled across a horizontal floor by a force of 6.0 Newton. The frictional force acting on the box is 1.0 Newton. What is the acceleration of the box? So here we have to find out the acceleration. Acceleration is basically find out by using the Newton's law, that is F is equal to ma. From here, acceleration will be equal to force over mass. This force is basically the net force. Here two forces are given, that is 6.0 Newton and frictional force is 1.0 Newton. So the net force will be 6.0 minus 1.0, which is equal to 5.0 Newton. So force is equal to 5.0 Newton and mass is given 2.0 kilograms. So I put here 5.0 divided by 2.0. Acceleration will be equal to 2.5 meter per second square. From here, option B is correct. Question number 6. 4 hollow glass spheres P, Q, R and S each have a mass of 72 grams. Their volumes are given in the table. Volume is measured in centimeter cube. Which sphere sink in the liquid of density 0.9 gram per cubic centimeter? So density is given here, which is equal to 0.9 gram per cubic centimeter. First of all, we have to find out the density for the sphere P, Q, R and S and compare the densities of the sphere with the density given for the liquid. So I write here density for the P will be equal to mass over volume. Mass is 72 divided by volume for the sphere P is 55 centimeter cube. So I write here 55. Density will be equal to 1.309 gram per cubic centimeter. For the sphere Q, again mass is given 72 gram divided by volume is 65. So density will be 1.107 gram per cubic centimeter. For the sphere R, density will be 72 divided by volume, which is given 75. So I divide it with 75. Density will be equal to 0.96 gram per cubic centimeter. The density for the sphere S, it will be 72 divided by 85, which is 0.847 gram per cubic centimeter. Now we see here the densities of all of these spheres. Here is density 0.9 and here is 0.96, 1.107 and 1.309. It means that the density for the sphere P, density for the sphere Q and density for the R, it is larger as compared to the density of the liquid. So all of these spheres will sink in the liquid. Now we see the option. In the option A, P, Q and R is given. So all of these spheres sink in the liquid. Option A is correct. Question number 7. The diagram shows a uniform meter rule. The rule is pivoted at its midpoint. A downward force of 4.0 Newton acts on the rule at 5 cm mark. The rule is held by the string at 30 cm mark. The rule is in equilibrium. What is the upward force that the string exerts on the rule? So here basically we have to find out this force. Here the rule is in equilibrium. So the clockwise movement must be equal to the anti-clockwise movement. I write here clockwise movement will be equal to anti-clockwise movement. Clockwise movement is basically caused by this string, while the anti-clockwise movement is caused by this force. Also, the movement is the product of force and the perpendicular distance from the pivot point. So first of all, I write here the clockwise movement will be force, which we have to calculate F multiplied by distance. So the distance from the pivot point is this. It is 50 minus 30, which is given 20. So here will be 20. It will be equal to anti-clockwise movement. So anti-clockwise moment will be equal to 4.0 multiplied by the perpendicular distance. In this case, the perpendicular distance will be from the 5 mark to the 50. So here will be 50 minus 5, which is equal to 45. So force will be equal to 4.0 multiplied by 45, divided by 20. Then force will be equal to 9 Newton. From here, option D is correct. Question number 8. A ship sails due to north at a speed of 20 meter per second. A current in the water begins to move from the east to the west. The speed of this current is 20 meter per second. What is the magnitude of the resultant velocity of this ship? So here we have to find out the magnitude of the resultant velocity. First of all, I make here diagram. So here is north, south, east and west. The ship sails due to north and the speed is given 20 meter per second. So here will be 20 second. The current in the water begins to move from the east to the west. So it will be in this direction. And again its magnitude is 20. We have to find out the resultant here. So resultant will be the magnitude of this vector. We can see here that it's a right angle triangle. I suppose that this vector is V resultant and we have to find out the value of V resultant. So I write here it will be equal to square root of 20 square plus 20 square. Then V resultant will be equal to square root of 800, which is approximately equal to 28 meter per second. From here, option C is correct. Question number 9. The momentum of the body is changed by the force acting on it for a period of time. Which action increases the change in momentum? So here we have to increase the change in momentum. Option A, doubling the force and halving the time. B, doubling the force for the same time. C, halving both the force and time. D, halving the force and doubling the time. So first of all, we know that change in momentum is equal to force multiplied by time, or force is equal to delta P over T. The rate of change of momentum is basically equal to the force. So when we have to increase the change in momentum, it means that we have to increase the force. So here the doubling of force will increase the change in momentum for the same time. Option B is correct. Question number 10. A toy train P of mass 0.50 kg is traveling along a straight track with a velocity of 3.0 meter per second. It collides with a stationary train Q of mass 1.0 kg. It is stationary, so its velocity will be equal to 0. The two trains then stick together. What is the velocity of the combined train? So here we have to find out the velocity of the combined train. Here I use the law of conservation of momentum, that the total momentum before collision is equal to the total momentum after the collision. So I write here the total momentum before the collision will be the sum of momentum of the train P and Q. So I write here mass of train P and velocity of train P plus mass for the train Q and velocity of the train Q. This is before the collision. And after the collision, here will be M and V plus for the Q, the momentum will be this one. Here we have to find out the velocity of the combined train when both of these trains stick together. When both of these stick together, then they move with the combined velocity. It means that Vp is equal to Vq, and I suppose that this is equal to V. So I write here on the right hand side, here will be MP plus MQ and V is common. We have to find out this value of V. And also the train Q is stationary, means that UQ is equal to 0. So this term cancels. On the left hand side there is only M and UP. So V will be equal to, I rearrange this equation. and now I'm going to put values here. Mass of the train P is 0.50 multiplied by velocity 3.0 divided by 0.50 plus 1.0. Then the velocity will be equal to 1 meter per second. Now we see the options. Option A, 1.0 meter per second in the same direction as P was traveling originally. This option is basically correct. So the combined train moves towards the direction of the train P that was traveling originally. So option A is correct. Question number 11. Brakes are used to slow down a moving car. Into which form energy is most of the kinetic energy converted as the car slows down? So when the brakes are applied, all of the kinetic energy is converted into heat energy. Now we see the options. Option A, chemical, B, elastic, C, thermal, D, sound. So this is basically the thermal energy, which is also be called heat energy. So option C is correct. Question number 12. A force of 25 Newton act on the object. The work done by the force is 400 joule. How far does the object move in the direction of the force? So here basically we have to find out the distance. We know that work is the product of force and distance. So distance will be equal to work divided by force. Work is given, which is 400 joule, divided by force is 25. So the distance will be equal to 16 meters. Now we see the option. Option A, 6.3 centimeter, B, 16 centimeters. So option B is correct. Question number 13. A car is moving along a straight horizontal road. The car has 1.6 megajoule of kinetic energy. The car accelerates for 20 seconds until the kinetic energy of the car increases to 2.5 megajoule. What is the minimum average power developed by the car engine for this acceleration? So here we have to find out power. We know that power is equal to rate of transfer of energy, that is E over T. But in this case there is change in kinetic energy. So I write here change in kinetic energy divided by time. This is basically equal to the minimum average power. Now I am going to put values here. The change in kinetic energy will be 2.5 minus 1.6 and time is given, which is 20 seconds. So power will be equal to 45,000 watt. This is also equal to 45.000 multiplied by 10 की power 3 watt, and 10 की power 3 is basically equals to kilo. So here will be 45 kilowatt. Now we see the option. Option A is 45 watt. This is incorrect because we have 45,000. Option B, 205 watt. C, 45 kilowatt. So option C is correct. Question number 14. A drawing pin thumbtack has a sharp point at one end and a flat surface at the other end. So there is the sharp point and other is the flat surface. The pin is pushed into the wooden board. How does the pressure and the force at the sharp point compare with the pressure and the force on the flat surface? So first of all, here we can see that at the sharp point, the area is smaller, while at the flat surface, the area is larger. The force on both of these, sharp point and the flat surface, will be same. So I write here force will be same. And we know that pressure is equal to force over area. When the force is same, pressure is inversely proportional to area. When the area is greater, the pressure will be smaller. We see here the sharp point has smaller area, due to which here pressure will be larger, while the flat surface has smaller pressure. Now we see the options. Force at the sharp point and the pressure at the sharp point. Force on both flat surface and the sharp point will be the same. Option A, greater than on the flat surface. This is incorrect. B, greater than on the flat surface. This is also incorrect. C, the same as on the flat surface. This statement is correct. and greater than on the flat surface. So pressure is greater while the force is same. So option C is correct. Question number 15. Which row compares the separation and the motion of the molecules of the hot gas with those of the cool liquid? Both the gas and the liquid are at the same pressure. Option A. The separation greater for the gas, motion faster for the gas. B. Greater for the gas, slower for the gas. C. Smaller for the gas, faster for the gas. D. Smaller for the gas and slower for the gas. So first of all, we know that the molecules of the gas, they are much further apart from each other. The spacing between these molecules are very large, due to which they move faster. It means that separation is greater and motion is faster, which is option A. So option A is correct. Question number 16. A fixed mass of the gas has a volume of 25 centimeter cube. The pressure of the gas is 1000 kilopascal. The volume of the gas is slowly decreased by 15 centimeter cube at the constant temperature. What is the change in pressure of the gas? So here we have to find out the change in pressure of the gas when the volume of the gas is decreased by 15 centimeter cube. So first of all, pressure P1 is 1000 kilopascal and volume V1 is given, that is original volume 25 centimeter cube. The second volume that decrease, it is 15 centimeter cube. First of all, here we have to find out the pressure P2 in order to calculate the change in pressure. So I write here, we have to find out P2. Here the temperature is constant, so I used Boyle's law. P1 V1 is equal to P2 V2. From here, P2 will be P1 V1 over V2. P1 is given 100 kilopascal, multiplied by V1 is 25, divided by V2 is 15. So P2 will be equal to 166.6 kilopascal. But here we require change in pressure. So change in pressure will be equal to P2 minus P1. Now I am going to put values here. 166.6 minus 100, which is equal to 66.6 kilopascal, and it is also equal to 67 kilopascal. Now we see the option. Option A is 67 kilopascal. So this is correct. Question number 17. A liquid turns into the gas. This occurs only at a particular temperature and the change happens throughout the liquid. What is this process called? So this is basically the boiling, because the boiling happens throughout the liquid. Option A, boiling. B, condensation. C, evaporation. D, fusion. So option A is correct. Question number 18. The diagram shows the liquid in glass thermometer. When the temperature of the thermometer rises, the changes produced cause the liquid thread to move to the right. Why does this happen when the temperature of the thermometer rises? So when the temperature of the thermometer rises, then the liquid expands more than the solid. Now we see the options. Option A, gases contract and the liquid expand. This is incorrect. B, gases contract and the solid expand. This is also incorrect. C, liquid expands more than the gases. This is incorrect because the spacing in the gas molecules are larger as compared to the liquid. Option D, liquid expands more than the solid. So this is correct. Question number 19. A sealed metal box contains a fixed mass of the air. The sides of the box are insulated. A scientist investigates the thermal conductivity of the air. She measures how quickly thermal energy passes between the top and the bottom of the box. Which row gives the correct procedure and the conclusion? Here are procedure and conclusion. Option A, heat bottom surface. Air is a good thermal conductor. B, heat bottom surface, air is a poor thermal conductor. Option C, heat the top surface, air is a good thermal conductor. D, heat top surface and air is a poor thermal conductor. So first of all, air is a poor thermal conductor. So only option D or B is correct. Now we have to guess the procedure that either we heat the top surface or the bottom surface. So first of all, if the bottom surface is heated, then the heat will not transfer from one part to another without the actual movement of the air, but the hot air that is above being dense, it would have been rise above the bottom. This could be an error in identifying the conductor. So it is necessary to heat the top part of the container here to avoid the actual movement of the dense hot air, because the conduction is a process by which the heat transfer without the actual movement of the molecules. So we have to heat the top surface and air is a poor thermal conductor. In the option, now we see the options. In the option A, heat the bottom surface, this is incorrect. In the option B also, here it is given heat the bottom surface, which is incorrect. Option C, heat the top surface, this statement is correct. Air is a good thermal conductor, but this is incorrect. Only the option D is correct, which shows that heat the top surface and air is a poor thermal conductor. Question number 20. In a cold country, the ground is covered in snow. There is a pile of black sand outdoors and its temperature is the same as that of the snow. A man sprinkles a thin layer of this sand over the snow. Why does the black sand help to melt the snow during the day? Option A, any thermal energy still left in the sand will melt the snow. B, the black sand is a good absorber of the infrared radiation from the sun. So black color is a good absorber. So option B is correct. Question number 21. A large hill blocks the direct path between the transmitter of the radio waves and the receiver as shown. The receiver picks up the signal from the transmitter even though the radio wave do not travel through the hill. Which row is correct? First of all, when a wave of longer wavelength diffracts, the wave spread out at large extent after diffraction. If I suppose that there is a barrier, and the separation of this barrier is represented by D. When the waves approaches towards this barrier, the wavelength of the wave is lambda. If the separation is smaller as compared to wavelength, then there will be more bending or more diffraction. But if the separation is larger as compared to the wavelength, then there will be small diffraction. Here we need to separate the transmitter signal through the diffraction if we want to send them to the receiver and to diffract signal to the large extent. It means that the wavelength of the signal should be large, because we want to obtain more diffraction. Now we see the options. A possible way for this to happen, a stronger signal is received using option A, diffraction round the hill, longer wavelength. B, diffraction round the hill, shorter wavelength. C, refraction round the hill. So option C and D is incorrect because here is diffraction. Option A is correct because here is diffraction and also the wavelength is longer. So option A is correct. Question number 22. A person stands 1.0 meter in the front of plane mirror. The mirror is moved away from the person at a speed of 1.0 meter per second. First of all, I consider here the location of the person is here and plane mirror is here. The distance between them is 1 meter. And this mirror is moved away from the person at the speed of 1.0 meter per second. Which statement is correct? Option A, the image moves away from the person at the speed of 1.0 meter per second. Option B, the image moved away from the person at the speed of 2.0 meter per second. C. The image moves towards the person at the speed of 1.0 meter per second. Option D. The image moved towards the person at the speed of 2.0 meter per second. As it's a plane mirror and the image formed by the plane mirror is same as that of the object, but it is on the opposite side. Now again this distance is 1 meter. It means that the image is moving away from the person at the speed of 2.0 meter per second, because here distance is double, so the speed will be double. From here option B is correct. Question number 23. White light is refracted and dispersed when it enters a glass prism from the air. Which color has the lowest speed as it moves through the glass prism? So which one of the following has the lowest speed? Option A, blue light. B, orange light. C, red light. D, violet light. As we know that the red light has the largest wavelength, while the violet light has the smallest wavelength. I write here violet light wavelength is smaller. As the white light enters into glass prism, then the frequency remains same. And according to the relation V is equal to F lambda, if the frequency is same, then V is directly proportional to wavelength. When the wavelength of the violet light is smaller, then the speed will be small. It means that it's the violet light that has the lowest speed. So option D is correct. Question number 24. The diagram shows the electromagnetic spectrum. Here is gamma rays, X-rays, ultraviolet, visible light, infrared, microwaves and radio waves. And here is written increasing. A word is missing from the label below the spectrum. Which word is missing? So which one of the following word is missing from here? Option A, amplitude. B, frequency. C, speed. D, wavelength. So first of all, the gamma rays are most energetic and it has high frequency. I write here, gamma rays have high frequency and radio waves have smaller frequency. Due to which the wavelength of the radio waves are larger. I write here, large wavelength. And for the gamma rays, wavelength is smaller. So as we move from left to right, the wavelength increases. So option D is correct. Question number 25. Which row gives a possible set of the values for the speed of sound in the ice, in water and in steam? The speed of sound in ice in meter per second, the speed of sound in water, speed of sound in steam. So first of all, we know that the speed of sound is larger in the solid as compared to the liquids and gases. I write here, speed of sound is larger in the solid as compared to the speed of sound in the liquid. It is also greater than the speed of sound in the gas. Here we are given ice, water and steam. So I write here the speed of sound in the ice, it is greater as compared to the speed of sound in the water, which is also greater as compared to the speed of sound in the steam. Now we see the option. In the option A, 500, 1500, 4000. Here the speed of sound in the steam is larger. So this option is incorrect. B, 1500, 4000, 500. This is also incorrect. C, 4000, 500, 1500. Option D, 4000, 1500, 500. So option D is correct. Because here the speed of sound in the ice is larger and the speed of sound in the steam is smaller. So option D is correct. Question number 26. A steel bar is placed in an east-west direction for it to be demagnetized. No other magnet is nearby. Which method is not suitable? So which one of the following method is not suitable for the demagnetization of the steel bar? Option A, hammering the bar. B, heating the bar to a very high temperature. C, slowly taking the bar out of the coil that carries an alternating current. D, slowly taking the bar out of the coil that carries a direct current. Direct current cannot be used for the magnetization and demagnetization. So option D is correct. By slowly taking the bar out of the coil that carries the direct current, we cannot demagnetize the steel bar. That's why option D is correct. Question number 27. A plastic rod is rubbed with a dry cloth. The rod becomes positively charged. Why has the rod become positively charged? So when we rub the rod with the dry cloth, I suppose that here is the dry cloth and there is also the plastic rod. When this rod is rubbed with the dry cloth, the rod becomes positively charged. It means that the electrons are shifted from the rod towards the dry cloth. The rod loses electron, due to which it becomes positively charged, while the dry cloth becomes negatively charged. Now we see the options. Option A, it has gained electrons. B, it has gained neutrons. C, it has lost electrons. So option C is correct because it has lost electron, so it becomes positively charged. Question number 28. There is a current of 3.0 ampere in the resistor for time t. During the time t, a charge of 120 coulomb flow through the resistor. What is the time? So here we have to find out the time. We know that current is the rate of flow of charges. I is equal to Q by T. Here the current and charges are given and we have to find out the value of the time. So time will be equal to Q over I. The total charges are 120 coulomb and current is given 3.0 ampere. So the time will be equal to 40 seconds. Now we see the option. Option A, 0.025 minutes. B, 0.025 second. C, 40 minutes. D, 40 seconds. So option D is correct from here. Question number 29. Identical resistors are connected together to form of the arrangement X, Y and Z. There are three arrangements of the resistors X, Y and Z. What is the correct order of the resistances of the arrangements from the largest to the smallest? First of all, we have to write the larger resistance. Then at the end, we have to write the smaller resistance. In the arrangement X, we can see here there are two resistors. Each of these has resistance R and both of these are connected in parallel. In the parallel combination, the total resistance is obtained by using the formula 1 over R prime is equal to 1 over R plus 1 over R. So it will be equal to R square R plus R. Then R prime will be equal to R by 2. So I write here total resistance is equal to R by 2. In the Y combination, we can see here both of these resistance are connected in series and they have resistance R. In the series combination, the total resistance is obtained by adding all of these resistance. So it will be equal to 2R. In the arrangement C, there are three resistors, each of resistance R, and these are connected again in series. So the total resistance will be equal to R plus R plus R, which is equal to 3R. Now here we can see that Z arrangement has the largest resistance and then there is Y, after that there is X. Now we see the options. Option A, X, Y and Z. B, Y, X and Z. C, Z, X and Y, D, Z, Y and X. From here, option D is correct, which shows the correct order of the resistances. Question number 30. Resistors of resistance 1.0 ohm, 2.0 ohm and 3.0 ohms are connected in a parallel across the terminals of the cell. Which statement is correct? Option A. The current in the resistors are equal as all of these are connected in the parallel, and in the parallel combination the potential difference remains same. But the value of current changes. The total current is obtained by adding all of these currents, I1 plus I2 plus I3. Option B. The sum of the currents in the three resistors is equal to the current in the cell. So this option is correct according to this. So option B is correct. Question number 31. Diagram 1 shows a circuit containing an AC power supply, an unknown component X and a fixed resistor. The graph in the diagram 2 shows how the potential difference across the resistor varies with the time. So there is diagram 1 in which there is component X, fixed resistor and a power supply. In the diagram 2 we can see there is a potential difference that is varying with the time. What is the component X? Option A. Thermistor, B. Relay coil, C. Diode, D. Light dependent resistor. As in the diagram 1 there is AC source, so the output will be sinusoidal wave like this. But the output of this circuit is given in the diagram 2. So X component is basically the diode that allow the current to pass only in one direction. That's why in the diagram 2 the current only flow in one direction. It can never flow in the other direction because of the diode. So option C is correct. Question number 32. A NAND gate has two inputs and one output. Which truth table represents the action of the AND gate? There are truth tables shown. In the AND gate, when both of the inputs are high, the output will be high. Otherwise, the output is low. Now we see the option. In the A, when both of the inputs are high, the output is high. So this combination is correct. But all other are incorrect because in the second and third combination, here is only one input high. The output is also high, which is incorrect. In the option B, we can see here, when both of the inputs are high, the output is high. Otherwise, in all of the combination, output is low. So B option is correct. It is the truth table for the AND gate. Question number 33. Where must a fuse be connected in a main electric wire? Option A. The current wire only. B. The live wire only. C. The neutral wire. D. The live wire and the earth wire. So the fuse must be connected with the live wire only. Option B is correct. Question number 34. A wire XY is connected to the resistor R. The wire is moved in the magnetic field between the magnetic poles. In which direction must the wire be moved so that the induced current is in the direction shown? So here basically we have to find the direction in which the wire moves. We have to find out the direction of the force. Here it is given that current is flowing in this direction, while the magnetic field points from north pole towards the south pole. The magnetic field will be in this direction from right towards left. Now we have to find out the direction of the force. Here I use the Fleming left hand rule and find out the direction of the force. According to the Fleming left hand rule, the direction of force will be towards B. So option B is correct from here. Question number 35. A step-up transformer produces 60 volt AC output from the 12 volt AC input. There are 50 turns in the secondary coil. How many turns are there on the primary coil? Here we have to find out the number of turns on the primary coil. In the transformer, the ratio of the number of turns will be equal to the ratio of the voltage. I write here Ns over Np, which is the turn ratio. It will be equal to Vs over Vp. Here we have to find out the value of Np. So I write here Np will be equal to Vp over Vs multiplied by Ns. Now I am going to put values here. Vp is given, which is 12 volt, multiplied by the number of turns in secondary is 50 divided by 60. So the number of turns on the primary will be equal to 10. From here, option B is correct. Question number 36. An AC generator contains a coil that rotates at the rate of 4500 revolution per minute. What is the frequency of the alternating current? So here we have to find out the frequency. Frequency will be equal to rotation divided by time in second. So I write here frequency is equal to number of rotations divided by time in second. Now here will be 4500 rotations and time is per minute, and 1 minute contains 60 seconds, so I divide it with 60. So that frequency will be equal to 75 Hz. From here, option B is correct. Question number 37. Why are some radioactive sources stored in the boxes made from the lead? Option A. Lead absorb emission from the radioactive sources. B. Lead decrease the half-life of the radioactive sources. C. Lead increase the half-life of the radioactive sources. D. Lead repels emission from the radioactive sources. The main property that makes the lead an ideal shield is its density. However, this material has other properties for the radiation shielding. That is, it has high flexibility, it is extremely stable, and it has high atomic number. Because of these properties, lead absorbs emission from the radioactive sources and it is efficient to use as a radioactive shielding. So from here, option A is correct, because lead absorbs emission from the radioactive sources. Question number 38. The diagram represents a neutral atom. Here is a neutral atom. Which row identifies each type of particle in the diagram? So first of all, we know that in the neutral atom, the number of protons is equal to number of electrons. Electrons revolve in the shell. There are two electrons, that is one here and the other is here. It means that the number of protons should be 2. So the number of protons is represented by the black circle, while the neutrons are represented by the blank circle. Now we see the option. It is electron, neutron and proton. From here, option A is correct, because option A describes each particle that is given in the neutral atom. So option A is correct. Question number 39. A thin metal foil is placed in the vacuum. Alpha particles are fired at the foil and most go straight through. A very small proportion of the alpha particles are reflected through the large angles. What does this provide evidence for? Option A. Alpha particles are very small. B. There are negative electrons in each atom. C. There is tiny nucleus in each atom. D. There are neutrons in each atom. From here, option C is correct, because there is a tiny nucleus in each atom. So option C is correct. Question number 40. The background count rate measured by the radiation counter is 40 counts per minute. With the counter close to the radioactive source, the counter reading is 960 counts per minute. The half-life of the radioactive source is 20 minutes. What is the counter reading after 1 hour later? So here we have to find out the counter reading when 1 hour pass. First of all, we can see here, when the counter is close to the radioactive source, count rate is 960 and the background count rate is 40. So we have to subtract this. This will be equal to 920 counts per minute. Next, the total time is given, that is 1 hour, and 1 hour contains 60 minutes. So the number of half-lives will be equal to total time divided by half-life. Total time is 60 minutes divided by half-life is given, which is 20 minutes. So I divide it with 20 and the number of half-lives will be equal to 3. It means that 3 half-life passes. So original count rate is 920. When the first half-life pass, these remain half. So there will be 460. When the second half-life pass, these also remain half. So there will be 230. At the end, when the third half-life pass, the count rate remain half and it will be equal to 150 counts per minute. These are the count rate when we have subtract the background count rate. We also have to add the background count rate. So it will be 115 plus 40, which is equal to 155 counts per minute. From here, option C is correct, which shows that 155 counts per minute. So option C is correct from here.